Good evening, everyone. Today we have Sunitha here to share her experience on building our communication skills to create a personal brand for ourselves in workplace. So now Sunitha will be handling the session. Thank you.
To give an introduction about myself, on my journey, what do I do? And I think if you should need to know more about me, please feel free to ask. So it was somewhere around 2001 that I climbed my first corporate ladder as an customer service executive, and this was with a company called Standard Chartered Mutual Funds. It was a very good learning that was in mutual funds. I'm sure each of you would have invested in mutual funds, SIPs, all of it extensively. But it was way back in 2001 that mutual funds was just about beginning to be a very booming industry. And my timing was right, so I happened to join them. And I would say my schooling was very good. Roughly about spending about 2 years, 2.5 years plus with them, I then took my next step into the world of another bigger asset management company. And this time, the brand that I worked with is HSBC. I was with them for almost about close to about 7 to 8 years. And then here I joined them as a manager, but I went on to become the zonal head for the entire South within a span of about 7 to 8 months. Now, this I would say in my career growth, I kind of graduated. I finished my university in the corporate world because I typically learned every nuances, every trick of the trade in terms of corporate life, right from handling people, how to develop your skill set, how to handle stakeholders, how to drive meetings, how to drive trainings. And my forte was typically operations and client servicing. Now, with that, I think I'd roughly spent about 10 to 11 years, and the world of asset management or the world of mutual fund was becoming very boring for me. I knew the job, like, even if you wake me up in the midnight, I can tell you exactly what you should do in an asset management company. As a person, I like to kind of challenge myself. I like something new. So I was looking for an opportunity into a totally different industry, an industry which I know A, B, C, D of it, even that I don't know. And that's when I got an opportunity in 2011 to move to Chennai. And here I joined the brand called Mercedes-Benz Financial. This is more like an NBFC. This was a financial arm of the group Mercedes. So what were we responsible for? We were responsible for financing those assets which belong to either Mercedes or Bharat Benz. Bharat Benz is the manufacturing unit that is based here in Chennai, which manufactures trucks. Now, we were the financial services for them, and this is where my journey began. I was with them for almost about 9 plus years. But then this company moved out of Chennai. They moved to Pune, and I chose not to move with them. Like I said, I'm somebody who likes challenges, and I like to take on new things. So then I kind of reflected back on my journey about the corporate life. I said, if I've spent 19 years and I help companies become very strong brands in India, which means reason why I say that is because I was responsible for handling client servicing. Now, your customer service is the face of an organization. What you deliver as experience to your customers is what customers experience of you in as a brand. So I thought to myself, saying that, hey, you know what? For the last 19 years, I'm good at, helping individuals communicate better, bring in more strategy, identify more revenue opportunities, and always been with the corporates and help corporates become very strong brands. But then I said, okay, let me get off the corporate ladder. So I think this for me was like a train journey, right? And it was going extremely well. I was responsible for customer service, then I was heading the business for recovery. But then this was like the corporate train where I'm traveling first class. Life couldn't have been better for me. But then something said, okay, let me pull that red chain which is there in the train because I need to know what happens, if corporate is not around me. Can I survive on my own? Now that's when I gave birth to this idea, saying that I will start something on my own and take all my learnings and trainings forward and bring it into a new world called as Bizskiils. This has been christened around the name saying business skills made easy. And typically, the tagline for my business is enhance expression. What do I do today? Today, I work with founders, corporates, where I kind of help individuals and companies enhance their expression through better communication, better leadership qualities, better understanding of their potential. So typically, if you look at it, this is like a flashback of my close to 20 years of corporate experience, and I'm still learning. Recently, I'm doing a course with IIM Calcutta. As I speak, I'm still a student. I'm doing a executive program with them on a topic called communication strategies for corporate leaders. Now, most of them in my class keep asking me, saying that, hey, you are an industry communication coach. What are you sitting here and doing in a class like this? So, communication as a topic is never enough, no matter how much experience you have, how much knowledge you have, is never enough. There's always a different aspect to how you can communicate better. Most of us speak like the way we speak, which is I know a certain style of speaking, Divakar or Akila, whoever, they know a certain style of speaking. But that style alone is not sufficient for you to survive in the corporate world. You need to become strategic when you're communicating. You need to be very effective when you're communicative. You need to be very creative when you're communicating. So there are many aspects to communication, and that is the course that I'm doing with IIM Calcutta. So this basically is my background and introduction. Before I kind of jump into the session, would anybody like to know anything more? Please feel free to ask. It'll be good to have a very interactive session because today's topic is all about communication. So, which is why I told Divakar, I'm not going to be doing a session if everybody is going to be off video, because then I feel like I'm sitting and talking to an empty room. So I think, yeah, he's also come up for me on the screen, so I feel good looking at people and their expressions. So, any questions that you would like to know more about me before I go ahead? Otherwise, just give me a
Ma'am,
shout. I'll just
this is
carry on.
Vanitha. I have a
Yes, Vanitha,
question. Even though
please.
I speak in simple English, people,
Yeah,
whenever I am giving a speech in Toastmaster session, some other
yeah,
club, they are
yeah,
providing on comments like mother tongue influence is there. So
yeah.
how can I reduce that? That is the
For
only comments I'm receiving from others.
Sure, sure. We'll keep this to the end, Vanitha. Thank you so much for that question. I've made note of that. Let's summarize your question towards the end. But is there something that you'd like to know about me? Do I have your approval with my credentials to deliver the session for you? Do you think you're in safe hands for the next 1 hour? Would you trust me
Yeah,
as an expert to deliver this topic for you?
We
yeah,
are
yeah,
believing
Sunitha
you.
madam.
Yes, yes,
Hello.
yes.
Yeah, yeah. What you're doing is really a very brilliant job.
Thank you.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yes, yes, Kamal, go ahead.
Hello, madam. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Please go ahead.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. What you're doing is really a brilliant job, ma'am. Please keep on.
Thank you so much, Kamal. All right. So I'm just going to kind of take you into the session. What is this particular screen is for me very, very important. Now, what do you notice of the screen and what comes to your mind?
It's a brand name.
It's a brand name.
Yeah,
Okay.
like you
Any
said.
other guess what this is?
Brand name. Actually, these are the main brands we are using it on daily basis. Apple phone, Microsoft Word, Google. For everything we are searching in the Google. Everything we are
Sure.
buying through Amazon.
Yeah.
Madam,
Super.
they are. Hello.
Yeah.
Actually, ma'am, they are not in our room, but we are talking about them, like you said.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. In my
Very
view,
interesting. Thanks. So
in
these are
my
MNC companies. I saw a message there. Yes, these are MNC companies. They are brands. They are products that we utilize, like what Vanitha said. And yeah, these are absolutely name-standing brands. Correct?
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Yes, Arvind. Sorry, Arvind, I can't hear you. All right. So I'm going to go ahead with the feedback that you've given me. Yes. Please feel free. Yeah, tell me. All right, I'm just going to move on. I'm going to capture what Kamal, Akila has agreed, what Vanita has kind of helped me say. And few things is that for you, the minute you look at these slides, what really kind of reflects with you is these are brands that really speak for themselves. These are not only just brands that speak for themselves, they are top 10 brands of the world, which has been, indicated for 2019. Now, that kind of leads me to the next question, and this is what I want you to ask you of, is that what really is a brand? You spoke so extensively about a brand, right? You said Google I use every day, and you're using Google, you're using Microsoft, you're using Amazon. Now, what really is a brand? Why did you say that they are brands? Your first reaction when you saw that screen, you said that, hey, these are brands. These are brands that I use every day. So what is a brand then?
Because they are the best.
Okay, hold on to it, Kamal. I'm going to come back to you on that. All right. So you said these are brands because you said they are the best. Now, what do you really think is a good brand? What do you think should be there in a good brand? What qualities are you expecting when you say they are good, they are best?
Trustworthy.
Trustworthy, okay.
Good customer support.
Good customer support, which means good attitude. Okay, can I interpret it like this?
And good products.
Good products, okay.
Good quality
And
at
it's
its best.
all over the world.
Globally available for us, okay. Why is it globally available? Because they are so good, right? So which means they have such a bigger market that they can establish themselves to the global world. Okay. So it was trustworthy, great suite of products. They are so good that they're globally available. They have good customer service where we said great interactions. The brand is something that it has satisfied. Sorry, somebody's message just went off over there. So basically, you're saying that for you to experience a brand, it should be something that's best, correct? That's where we started from the previous slide. At this slide, when we're trying to understand what do you think really goes in, or what really makes a brand a good brand, you said it should be trustworthy, it should be the best, it should have a great product, and for me it should be something which is globally available, means you're so good that the whole world is wanting your product right now. And somebody said there has to be an essence of experience, which is customer service. All right, now we're going to capture this for a minute and then get to the next slide. I hope you remember all the qualities, right? Because that's very critical. Now, that is with regard to a company and how you perceive of a company. But tell me something, what is your understanding as to how do you define a company as a good brand? Now, say for example, Divakar, Akila, Kamal, Arvind, and Prem, Jagdish, whoever, tomorrow you're walking into a company, or Vanitha for that matter, if you're walking into Toastmaster, let's take that for a minute to be a company. You will only establish your association with a company if you believe a company is good, correct or not? If I ask you to come and work for my company Bizskiils, will you come and work? Because you have no idea. The world doesn't know Bizskiils is there. But if I ask you to come and work for Microsoft or any other company that you're associated with, a company also gets associated as a brand. And why do you think a company gets associated as a brand? You validate. Before you decide whether I should give somebody my time, whether I decide that, hey, this is a good company for me to make my fortune, this is a good company for me to invest my skill set and learn from them. You validate a company whether it is a good brand or not. And how do you do it? On what dimensions or definitions do you do it?
By reviews of other people's, ma'am.
So you
By the reviews
review,
of other
right?
people's.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you review a lot, you understand about the company, you understand about the culture. So first thing that you do is you validate, correct?
Yes.
Super. Okay. Next, what else do you do? What else do you do when you choose that this company is a good brand for me to work with? Hey, paisa matta kudutha porama vela sendirringla illa. You will validate whether that's a good brand, that's a good company. நான் இந்த கம்பெனில போய் வேலை பண்றேன்னு சொல்லி வெளியே சொன்னா கெத்தா இருக்குமா, அதெல்லாம் ட்ரை பண்றீங்களா? இந்த கம்பெனில வேலை பண்றேன்னு சொன்னா பொண்ணு தருவாங்களா? All that you will check. Why do you check? What makes you that validation? Why do you have to do validation of a company to be a brand?
Because it's popular, right, ma'am?
It is
It's a popular.
popular.
Yes.
Okay, it is
If
popular.
I, if
You
I,
want to know that is a good brand. It's
yes.
if you want to know that that's safe to be with, you can have. Srinivas is trying to tell me something, but I know that message just keeps popping up and just missing there. If somebody can read that message for me, I don't want to miss what he is writing. Anyway, somebody can read that for me. Divakar, unnala
I'll
mudiyuma?
I'll read that. Not a
Please,
problem.
please. Yeah,
One second.
yeah. Because I've blown up the screen, I can't really make
Advertising
out.
pushes the image, and we seeing people using them, and their opinions gradually becomes a brain.
Okay, fair enough. So advertising, yes, Srinivas, you're right. Advertising plays a very key role in terms of making a company very visible and making a company there. So that becomes, guys. I'm going to make note of whatever that you guys said. So in the first slide, when I said, what is a brand, you said it has to be best. Okay. Then I said, what qualities do you see or what makes a good brand? You said, hey, it needs to be trustworthy for me. It should have like amazing products. It has to be globally available, which means it's so good that the whole world wants to use that product. There has to be good service, which means there has to be a good experience that I have to derive out of the brand. And lastly, but not the least, what was the other thing that you guys said? Experience, trustworthy, brand, globalization. Okay, let's for now keep it to these 4 factors. Now, when it comes to this, what do you define a company to be a brand? I will take with Srinivas's clue saying that advertising comes into play to kind of make yourself as a good brand. Then somebody else said, I validate. Okay? Kamal said, I validate, I check
Yes.
with my
Yes.
friends, I do a lot of research to check whether I can put this, whether I can put myself into this company. And the last one
Actually,
that he
ma'am.
said is that, sorry?
Uh, yeah, validation is very important thing, ma'am. For example, if Warren Buffett, before
Yeah,
investing, uh, before investing a lot of money into Coca-Cola company, before validating others, he validated first. So he become
yes.
a billionaire. So after
Okay.
popular only, many of them trying to invest in that company. So we have to
Okay.
validate before that.
Okay. So Srinivas said employee satisfaction is very important. You said there has to be a good popular feeling and then there has to be a lot of validation. Now, you've said it all. You've said it all in the context of what really makes a company a good brand and why for you a company should be a good brand before you start investing yourself as an employee with the company. Now, how would you relate this to you as a brand? What do you think companies are doing when they're looking at you, when they're hiring you? Don't you think they're also trying to discover who you are as an individual? Okay, why should a Kamal be recruited by me? For example, imagine I'm a Microsoft, or I'm a Google, I'm an Amazon. I'm a brand. So don't you think my criteria of looking at you is also like a brand? Okay, and I also coach a lot of these students from IIT Madras. I do a workshop called Build Your Personal Brand and I do interview guidance. Now, what I tell the students is that if you're just going to stand there with your resume and say, hey, you know what, I have skill set, I can do programming for you, I can do Java, I can do digital marketing, I'm a great advertisement guy, you think the company is going to be interested in you? This is a company, exactly like what makes company a brand. Guys, I'm going to read this list to you like to see whether you have these qualities. Okay, I'm going to look at you as a recruiter and I'm going to see, are you going to be a trustworthy employee for me? Okay, are you going to be somebody who is going to give me a good product, which means is your skill set that you offer to me the best that I can have from the market? If Kamal also can give me the same skill set, if say for example, Sunitha also can give me the same skill set, if Sunitha comes 10% lesser of cost, why do you think I will take Kamal? So, which means Kamal, when you talk about your skill set, you got to beat every single competition as a candidate that's there sitting next to you. So you got to be trustworthy. You got to be the best resource in your skill set. Global. Somebody said the word, it needs to be globally available. If I were to take you on board, are you somebody that I can make use of your efficiency to such an extent that it is beyond the peripheral of this company? Can I take you to the roles of a regional head? Are you somebody that you can represent this company for me in the headquarters? Are you that kind of a resource? Or are you the resource who's coming in the morning 9 to 6, sit in your desk, punch in and go away? Okay. Today, people are looking for leadership qualities. Leadership qualities, my friend, is globalization. Do you have the essence to attract more people than sitting around you? Okay. The next one you said experience. Who said experience? Somebody in the audience said good customer service. What is good customer service all about? Experience. Do people feel nice, interacting with you? Do you deliver an experience to your stakeholders? When you have interactions with your team, when you have an interaction with your manager, do you kind of deliver a good experience? All right. Advertising today is very, very critical, guys. Today, if you want to survive in a corporate, you should be able to sell yourself most. You should be able to sell yourself the bestest, because nobody knows you better than you. Nobody knows you better than your strengths. If your guys are going to be sitting there and saying, hey, your manager sarilada, evlo vela pannalu, he is not nice. In a promotion, sorry, that is not the manager's mistake, that is your mistake. If you're able to deliver an experience, if you have a skill set that is so good, and if you're a product that is so niche, and if you're trustworthy, your manager does not have to speak for you, you should speak for yourself, which means you should know the art of advertising yourself. Validate. Who said validate? Kamal, neenga thane? Warren Buffett example லாம் கொடுத்தீங்கல வர. Okay. If I were to go back and validate about you in the industry before I took you on the job, what is the market going to tell me about you? Do you have a legacy which says, hey, Kamala, kandipa na bedte agnu in the velike market samaya pese theriyuma? Do you have that quality in you as a brand? Okay. Imagine, I'm just drawing reference to brand as a word. Employee satisfaction. Srinivas, I think, put that comment saying employee satisfaction. I'm going to relate it to you saying that, are you going to be someone that if you engage with any stakeholder, is there going to be a satisfaction of interacting with you? Is people working with you going to be so happy? Because you are a team player, correct? Team leader, you are a manager, you could be the next level, you could be Vanitha, a speaker at Toastmasters, but do you deliver a satisfaction quotient or an experience quotient to your audience that they always look forward to you? The last one is popularity, correct? Somebody said brand for me is popularity. I will only step into a company which is popular. Why? Companies also want to, recruit individuals who sound that popular, who have that superstar quality in them. Okay, so today, if I'm going to be talking so extensively about a brand and relating it to you as a brand, means companies also look exactly like the way you look at companies as brand. Companies also look at you as a brand. Every single individual will be a brand. It's a personal brand. So now, which is why I say developing your personal brand is an essence for advancement or essential for advancement of your career. Because every now and then when you're interacting with somebody, there is something about you that really stands out. So it is what makes you special, and how you become valuable for the organization is what really creates your personal brand. You can be anybody in the organization. You can be somebody who just joined yesterday. You could be 5 years old in the company, or probably you're close to retirement. There always a need to create yourself on a personal brand, because your personal brand is what's going to be keep developing within the organization. Now, with that being said, I want to kind of take you into the tips of what builds you as a personal brand. Now, there's a tip number one. Now that, okay, we've understood that how we judge companies to be brand, we've also understood how companies look at individuals as brand. And how do we then kind of make sure that we kind of groom ourselves or develop ourselves in such a manner that we stand out to be a very popular brand, or we stand to be a very my personal brand is very defined. Now I'm going to stop you for a minute, and before I kind of take on the next few slides, I want you to kind of give me a shout of you. I've been speaking for the last, say, 15-20 minutes, right? A little more than that, maybe. Now, what qualities of mine stands out for you? Why do you think the next few tips that I'm going to talk to you about is something that you will even sit here to listen?
Uh, your communication, ma'am.
Okay, one. I want to move on. Thanks, Kamal. Next, communication. Good expression. Okay,
The
Srinivas.
way
Next.
of communicating, people make us to understand.
Okay, so you're saying my communication is in such a manner that I'm making sure that you understand. All right. Okay.
We are actually
And
focusing.
ma'am, you are into, and you are,
You're very confident
very
speech.
detailed.
I'm so sorry, I
You're
missed you
very.
there.
Hello, ma'am. Can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah.
You're into very detailed stuff, so that we are getting a lot of information in it. So that I'm gonna be in this.
Sure. All right. Now, the reason why I'm going to kind of start with the session with a reflection of who I am. Thank you so much for your feedback and being so open about it. You said communication, you just said confidence, and you said there is clarity. I'm just putting clarity for the way you said you're able to understand, which means looks like your honesty declaring. I'm so sorry, I missed that message over there. Can somebody read what Srinivas had said? Vanitha, can you help me this time?
1 second.
Yeah.
So you want to read only Srinivas, looks like
Yeah,
your
because that just
honesty
popped up. That's why I know
declaring.
he missed.
Yeah.
Sorry?
Looks like your honesty declaring the subject.
Okay, done. All right. So I'll keep myself as a subject matter expert. There's a lot of clarity in what I'm trying to deliver, the message. There's
And another
confidence
message
that you're
from
experiencing. Sorry?
another message from Gauri Sankar. Clearly defined objectives and flow.
Okay, super. Thanks, Vanitha. I'll move ahead with this. Okay. Now, what am I trying to do before I'm going to attempt to give you a tips? I'm going to take into account what you've just given me as a feedback. You've already kind of created in your mind Sunitha as a brand fits into what quotient, correct? You have this is your mental makeup of me that you're experiencing as a brand. Sunitha comes across to be somebody who knows what she's talking. She's confident, and I'm a subject matter expert, and I am delivering my message to you with a lot of clarity. Now, is this something that I came today to discover out of you? No. I came today to discover, what is that I can deliver to you, because I have built this as a brand. Today, when I say, Sunitha, you're good in communication, yes, I know I'm good in communication. That's the brand that I've focused and I've built on. I come across to be a very confident person. Yes, I know I'm confident. And hence, when I'm delivering this message to you, you are also kind of getting that synergy that I am confident. Am I giving you a lot of clarity in what I'm talking? Yes, I know, because I also know that I have to make you understand you're an audience that I need to connect my dots with. I am not sitting here to discover these factors of what you've said. Because you said, I'm saying, oh, I'm not feeling so well, really people think I'm good in communication. No. When you are a brand, you need to know who you are. So for me, you telling me I'm a good communicator, you telling me I am, confident, you telling me I'm giving you a lot of clarity, you telling me is, I'm a subject matter expert, is already a brand that I believe that I am delivering for you as a experience. Similarly, each of you have to call out, have to identify your brand that you want people to experience of you. You can't be going there and having a conversation with somebody and allow the judgment in their hands. You need to walk in there and say, okay, you know what? Once I'm done with this conversation, this is exactly what my audience is going to feel about me. By audience, I don't mean people 100 standing there in front of you, even if you encounter a person. That one aspect of you or two aspects of you, which is your strength, it needs to come out very, very clearly. Now, I'm going to only take Divakar as an example because I've only interacted with Divakar. And this is the first time, thanks to this call that he's facilitated, that I even get to see his face. Unless I insisted I wanted to see his face yesterday, he didn't even show what he looks like. Now, but when I interact with Divakar, he comes across to be a very benevolent person, very honest, very helping, always willing to learn, and very, very enthusiastic. Now, that's the brand that he delivers as an experience to your audience. Now, you got to keep that familiarity of who you are as an individual and not allow anybody to judge and everybody to judge you as a brand. So my session with you in terms of sharing tips of how you should cultivate your brand is to make sure that you have that unique quality about you that you know very well. If you don't know your strengths, then pretty much everybody is going to come and tell you what strength you should have or what they see of you, which then you'll say, oh, really, you see this of me? And it just becomes like a hodgepodge. All right. So this session for me is to kind of bring out that essence of who you are as an individual. So the tip number one is that you need to clearly get on your unique value proposition. By what do I mean as a unique value proposition? This is more in the background of you being able to go back and use in the corporate or any relationship that you're associated with. Now, for example, if Divakar is doing an event with an NGO, there must be a clear value proposition that he has to deliver for that particular agenda. Similarly, when you are offering a certain skill set of yours, or probably Vanitha, when you're delivering a speech at Toastmasters, there has to be something very unique about you. Your value proposition needs to be very unique, and that's what really defines you. Which means, first of all, you got to be very clear about your unique value proposition. Today, when you said I'm good in communication, I'm confident, I bring in a lot of clarity, I sound like a subject matter expert, that is what I have defined as my unique value proposition. Similarly, each of you have to define your own unique value proposition. Tip number two for you would be you got to ask for feedback. The best way to do is that you have to nurture this 2 or 3 unique value propositions and take a feedback from, be it your team members, colleagues, friends, whoever that you think you can take into confidence and say, Macha, do you think, this is very unique about me? When I speak to you, do I give you a lot of clarity? You, whatever be it, whatever unique value proposition you define of yourself, make sure you kind of ask feedback, validate. Kamal, you gave me a word said validate, right? You got to
Yes.
validate whether your unique proposition is something that people are experiencing. நான் நல்லவன் 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 நம்ம சொல்லிட்டே இருப்போம் ஆனா மத்தவங்களுக்கு நம்ம are we that நல்லவன் type category? Do you experience that or you just another one? So you need to take feedback because you got to etch that out clearly. When you Rajinikanth and சொன்ன ஒரு style மாதிரி வரல, you got to validate, you got to take feedback to make sure that your unique value proposition is clearly experienced by your audience. And do it with people you're closely associated with, people who are your well-wishers. Give them an agenda. சும்மா better, you know what, நான் நல்லா பேசுறேனா அதெல்லாம் தேவைக்கானாத ஒரு this thing. What is that you want? Are you a subject matter expert? Are you somebody who is wanting to sell a big picture? ஒரு business deal பண்ணணுமா, ஒரு story சொல்லணுமா? What is your experience? What are your 3 things that you want people to take away from you? You have to validate. Please ask that feedback from people. The next tip that I have for you is you got to be consistent. If you're not consistent today, how many brands do you say, hey, I wouldn't recommend you buy that, yeah, because 9 out of 10 times, sometimes you're lucky means you'll get a good product. Nobody will trust you if you're not consistent. Consistency is the key. Today, we go back and invest only with brands because they're experts in what they do and they consistently deliver that experience for you. If Google one day showed you a different meaning to the word bad, would you ever go back and trust Google? You will go back and check Google if it's giving you the same meaning for another word. Okay? அப்போ அது தப்பு தப்பா meaning கொடுத்ததுன்னா, will you trust Google for the 3rd time? You will not. Nobody will do that. Similarly, if you are defining a value proposition for yourself, if you have taken feedback that this is something people experience of you, you need to be very consistent in delivering that unique proposition to your audience each and every time. Otherwise, they will decide that, hey, this guy is immature, this fellow is inconsistent. If you get these 2 taglines, guys, it's very, very difficult to survive in the corporate world because that's doomsday. All right? Now, the 4th tip for me that I have for you is, Divakar, are we good on time? I just hope I'm not taking time. Irukkalama?
Time is 4:50. Then we have 45 minutes again.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Okay, so then we have the 4th tip for you, which is Use social media effectively. Now today, gone are those days where you join one company and you work with that company in 10 years, 15 years. It's not going to happen. Today, at the most, if you stay in a company for 3 years, yeah, I would consider being very lucky. If you see in my entire 20 years, I changed only 3 companies. But I will know of individuals that in the next
Yeah,
20
ma.
years of individuals, they would have probably changed another 20 companies. Yeah. So how will you use social media effectively? If you have become very unique, if you have taken enough feedback to understand that this is very unique about you, you have a skill set that you know how to sell, and then you are very consistent in what you do, you have to start leveraging yourself on the social media. I am not talking about social media as Facebooks, guys. That for me is not social media. I am talking more about Twitter and LinkedIn to be your social media platforms. Today, if anybody wants to recruit you, the first thing that they will go and see is your LinkedIn profile. So make sure that you start posting certain articles. If you are a subject matter expert sitting and doing coding, or if you're a subject matter expert sitting in client servicing, or if you're a subject matter expert sitting in advertising, you need to start posting certain articles very relevant to your topic, your interest on your LinkedIn page, at least once a month. And try and make sure that you have certain professional goals that you've met. Say, for example, I will take Vanitha's example of a Toastmaster. If she has done a Toastmaster presentation and it went very well for her, she should start posting this on LinkedIn or Twitter or whichever be the social media which is more for professional attempt, because people then have a visibility of who you are. Because no matter what we do, we definitely do it for our own satisfaction, but we also look for a recognition. Why do you need to be recognized today? Because you take that recognition and encash it for a better opportunity tomorrow. Correct? You don't take recognition and say, I'm very happy. You need better salary, you need more responsibilities, you need promotion, you need a better job, you start looking for another company. Now, please make sure that you use social media very effectively to promote who you are as an individual. There is a need to be extremely professional. If you're doing certain things, post it on LinkedIn and learn to write a nice comment. Hey, I don't write so much English தெரியுமா எனக்கு எப்படி எழுதணும்னு தெரியாது எனக்கு நிறைய போஸ்ட் பண்ணணும்னு ஆசையா இருக்கு பட் எனக்கு தெரியாது என்ன பண்றது தப்பு தப்பா எழுதிட்டேன்னா இன்னும் அசிங்கமா இருக்கும் அப்ப நோ பிரச்சனை ஃபர்ஸ்ட் யூ ஸ்டார்ட் லுக்கிங் அட் லிங்க்டின் உங்களுக்கு ஒரு போஸ்ட் பிடிச்சிருக்கா அதுல போய் கமெண்ட்ஸ் பாருங்க எப்படி எல்லாம் ஆளுங்க see how people comment then you will understand certain expression, then you will understand certain English. Okay, எனக்கு இந்த போஸ்ட் ரொம்ப பிடிச்சிருக்கு இந்த மாதிரி எல்லாம் எழுதலாமா ஒரு கமெண்ட் பத்தி சொன்னா then you will be able to bring in your language. Next time you will know how to write about that particular social media saying, hey, very nice, I appreciate. Okay, now the whole idea about doing this is because you want to sound a little unique. Now the fifth tip that I have for you is that you got to start promoting your brand in person. எல்லாமே பண்ணிட்டு ஒரு யூனிக் ப்ரொபோசிஷன் டெவலப் பண்ணி அது ஃபீட்பேக் வாங்கி அதுக்கப்புறம் ரொம்ப கன்சிஸ்டன்டா இருந்து அப்பப்போ ஒரு மூலையில உட்கார்ந்து லிங்க்டின்ல ஒரு போஸ்ட் போட்டுட்டு ஆபீஸ்ல யாருன்னே தெரியாம உட்கார்ந்துட்டு இருந்தா ஒரு பிரயோஜனமும் இல்லை. You need, please bear with my Tamil. I like talking Tamil, but it's very, very bad. So, don't laugh too much. Laugh after I finish the session. All right. So, if you want to promote yourself as a brand, you got to do it in person. Now, say, for example, I'm seeing Arvind there on the screen. If Arvind is my manager or if Arvind is my colleague there in the office, then I have to go interact with them. I need to go network with them. I will walk up to Arvind and say, hey, Arvind, do you have 2 minutes? How did you like my presentation about this yesterday? How did you like my report that I gave? Oh, Srinivas says he's enjoying my Tamil. So thank you, Srinivas. I'm sounding a lot more confident now. And so I will go and speak to Arvind saying that, Arvind, what do you think about it? Okay, I will start walking and talking, so which means I have to, not only should I sit on social media and promote myself as a brand, today networking is your strongest strength within the corporate. If you want to get promoted, if you want to go, big heights within the company, You have to kind of have that kind of a networking within the organization. Now, what I notice in corporate is there is a lot of this macha mama attitude that comes in. Now, the minute is like, people take it to be like another jolly vandama, coffee saptama, okay, rendu chai or newspaper, ஏதோ ஒரு தட்டிட்டு, okay, let's go. அந்த மாதிரி attitude இருக்காங்க. என்னைக்குமே you can't come on top. You have to build yourself like a brand. People, the minute you walk into an organization, you have to have a clear vision as to what you want to become within the company. You don't go to office to make friends. They just happen to become friends. They are good colleagues, you become good friends, but your bigger agenda is to keep pushing your skill set and keep doing justice to your career. You can't take 20 years to become a business head like me. I will say, boss, today's kids, you got to know that you're in the era of the millennials. This year, people are, you're going to have another lakhs of students who are millennials who are coming into the corporate world. Corporate worlds are not going to be looking at people like me. They want young blood. They want people who are extremely digital. They want people who are extremely savvy, people who can take those risks. And the millennial kids are the ones who can provide you that zeal. You are competing against them every time. When you're there earning your salary, you need to know who is your competition. If you don't know who is your competition, then if you think in a competition, I am the person this company has forever, don't be too sure about it, because the company has the choice of bringing somebody from outside and replacing it for a manager position if you have not showcased yourself to be a manager. So there's a lot of requirement for you to promote yourself as a brand in person within the organization. You need to know how to network. You need to know how to speak. You need to know how to go and have those good conversations with your colleagues, your managers, your super boss. Most important, you need to know what to talk and how to talk. ஏதோ பேசணும்னு சொல்லி பேசிட்டு அது எங்கெங்கயோ போய் முடிக்க கூடாது. So you need to know exactly, you have to sound very polished when you come across that. To sound very polished, what do you need? You need to have a clear vision of what is that you want to speak. You நிறைய பேர் வளவளன்னு பேசுவாங்க. Those fellows and all, people don't like to be associated. இவனா இன்னும் தலை தின்வானேன்னு சொல்லுவாங்க. Never get into those zones. Be very practical, be very strategic in terms of what you want to speak to your audience. The sixth tip that I have is that you got to focus on your communication skill. Now, இப்ப இருக்கிற இங்கிலீஷ்லயே நான் வாழலையா, இதுக்கு மேல நான் என்ன PhD பண்ண போறேன், ஹார்வர்டுக்கா போறேன் இல்லையே. If you're working for Tamil Nadu government, even there also you need to speak a little bit of English. But if you're sitting in a corporate, there is a must that you need to speak English. Now, உங்களோட communication skills நீங்க தான் ஏத்திக்கணும். You got to kind of keep improving that skill, because today whatever you do, there is a need to express yourself. I'll give you a very good example of my experience. ஜிம்முக்கு யாராவது போறதுண்டா? இல்ல போனோம்னு சொல்லி நிறைய பேருக்கு ஆசை இருக்கும், அது தனி. கரெக்ட், ஓகே. நான் அந்த மாதிரி நான் அப்பப்போ கொஞ்சம் ஜிம் எக்ஸ்பீரியன்ஸ் I like working out, so I keep trying out. So நான் இந்த கோல்ட்ஸ் ஜிம், தல்வார்கர், அப்புறமா ஸ்லாம் எல்லாமே போயிருக்கேன். What happens in these kind of industries? You have I go to gym, ma'am. Okay, Arvind, thank you. So what happens over here? ஒரு ஜிம்முக்கு போவீங்க, ஒரு இன்ஸ்ட்ரக்டர் இருப்பாங்க, நீங்களா போயிட்டு ஏதோ ஒன்று பண்ணிட்டு வந்துடுவீங்க. So that is done. Now, suppose if I have to be a instructor today, my life is sorted. நான் ஒரு ஜிம்ல சேர்ந்துடுவேன், நான் ஒரு பர்சனல் இன்ஸ்ட்ரக்டர் ஆயிடுவேன். நாளைக்கு வனிதா வந்த கூட நான் சொல்லி கொடுத்துட்டு வனிதா இஸ் ஹாப்பி, ஐ எம் ஹாப்பி, சூப்பரா இருக்கும் லைஃப், ஒன்னும் பிரச்சனை இல்லை. But have you heard of this new gym called Cult Fitness? There is a new gym that's come called as Cult Fitness, and it has changed the industry of gym in India today. It's a beautiful concept. They don't have, you can't go sit in the gym for 1 hour, 2 hour. Generally ஜிம்முக்கு போனா நல்லா அட்டை அடிப்போம், அது கொஞ்ச நேரம் தான் ஒர்க் அவுட் பண்ணுவோம். இங்கெல்லாம் அப்படி இல்ல. You got to kind of really, you have a certain time, you have to book your workout. In a day they have many workouts. 1 hour க்கு ஒரு workout வச்சிருப்பாங்க. You have to go and log in, register online, and you go there and stand. When your turn comes, if you have signed up for a batch which is 7 to 8, you will be allowed entry only 5 minutes before 7 o'clock to step on the floor. You will have an instructor standing there on the bench or on the dais, and he will deliver the session, and he has a mic and he speaks to you in English. He will say, do this, do that, punch in here, do that. And I keep wondering, saying that, can you believe today a profession like, running a gym instructor who just had to keep telling people or counting counts or where to kind of flex your muscle, today has to deliver it as a speech. He has to not only do, but he has to be very good in terms of communication. So can you believe the need to communicate can come in any shape, size, or form? And cult fitness, I hear from the instructors there that they work only for 5 hours. They don't work from 9 to 9 in the night. In a day, they work only 5 hours. They're paid 3 times the salary than any other gym, and life is sorted. But for that, you need to be professional. You need to know communication. Which communication coach, which instructor or a fitness coach would have ever thought that he has to learn English? He has to learn English for his survival, not to teach people how to kind of do, exercises, but to teach people how to do exercises orally. So the reason I'm telling you is that please focus on communication skill, because tomorrow you don't know which opportunity that you might get or how you will have to deliver that message, because you have a certain potential. You're all sitting there employed because you have a certain potential. There is a need to speak about your potential. And whoever gave me the example of Warren Buffett, he exactly said that is, if you don't know how to communicate your potential, it is as good as you not having that potential. Anybody can translate that for me in Tamil, what it meant? I would like to see what it sounds like in Tamil.
Hello? Yeah. Hello?
Yeah.
அதாவது உங்ககிட்ட என்ன பொட்டன்ஷியல் இருந்தாலும் அதை நீங்க வெளிப்படையா சொல்ல தெரியல அப்படின்னா அந்த பொட்டன்ஷியல் இருக்கிறதே வேஸ்ட்.
சூப்பர், தேங்க்யூ. அது இல்லாம தான் இருக்கும் அது, because you don't know how to speak about your potential. So your communication today is an extensive tool to represent who you are, your skill set, your unique proposition. எல்லாமே இருந்துட்டு அதை நீங்க உங்களால கம்யூனிகேட் பண்ண முடியலன்னா then it is as good as being wasted. This is my last tip to you, and that is, you got to be authentic. There has to be authenticity. சுனிதான்னு சொன்னா ஆமா ஓகே, இவங்க பண்றது எல்லாமே எதுவும் ஓவர் ஆக்டிங் பண்ண மாதிரி இல்ல, இவங்க ரொம்ப நேச்சுரலா இருக்காங்க, ரொம்ப ஜெனுவினா இருக்காங்க, ட்ரஸ்ட் பண்ணலாப்பா இந்த அம்மாவான்னு சொல்லிட்டு அந்த மாதிரி ஒரு ஃபீலிங் வரணும். இவங்க வந்து what you got to be very authentic, otherwise it is just not, people will think you're fake. அது எல்லாமே வேண்டாங்க. உங்களுக்கு வந்து இங்கிலீஷ்ல தமிழ் மாதிரி தான் பேசுவேன்னா வனிதா, நீங்க அதே பேசிக்கோங்க, பட் பி கம்ஃபர்டபிள் இன் வாட் யூர் டூயிங். Okay, because the whole idea is there's a difference between being authentic and there's a difference between putting on an accent. Ipo Vanitha, this is to answer your question. Say suppose tomorrow you have a Spanish guy come to Toastmasters and speak. He will speak Spanish and English, no? Or you call somebody from German, he will speak, he's not a Britisher to speak English like a British. A German guy will speak English like the way he will speak, English. அவனோட ஆக்சென்ட் ஓகேனா நம்மளோட ஆக்சென்ட் ஓகே இல்லைங்க. ஒரு மலையாளி இங்கிலீஷ் வந்து மலையாளம் மாதிரி தான் அது வரும் கேட்கறதுக்கு இருக்கணும், ஓகே. The only thing that you have to kind of focus on is your language. உங்களோட இங்கிலீஷ் கரெக்டா இருக்கா, உங்களோட ப்ரொனன்சியேஷன் கரெக்டா இருக்கா, உங்களோட டோன் நல்லா இருக்கா, நீங்க கான்பிடென்ட்டா பேசுறீங்க. அதுல தமிழ் தெரிஞ்சிருந்தா என்ன சார், நான் தமிழ், நான் அதுக்கு வந்து நான் பிரிட்டிஷர் மாதிரியா பேச முடியும் இங்கிலீஷ. But watch, ask them to give you very specific feedback. A Malayali will speak with a tone of Malayali. When a French guy can speak English with a French accent, why can't a Malayali speak with Malayali accent? You poor fellow. So first of all, we need to appreciate that. Two, you need to be very authentic. Just accent cannot be. நீங்க உங்களோட ரெக்கார்டிங் கேட்டு பாருங்களேன். What is that? Ask people to evaluate. நான் வந்து கான்பிடென்ட்டா பேசுறேன்னா, ஓகே, நான் வந்து தப்பு, இப்ப தமிழ் வந்து நிறைய தப்பா பேசிருக்கேன், எனக்கு தெரியும். ஆனா அது கான்பிடென்ட்டா பேசும்போது ஓகே, அந்த கொஞ்சம் கிராமர், அந்த கொஞ்சம் ஸ்லாங் எல்லாம் ஓகே அட்ஜஸ்ட் பண்ணிக்கலாமா, சுனிதா ஏதோ அட்டெம்ப்ட் பண்றாங்கன்னு சொல்லி ஐ எம் ஷூர் யூ வில் பார்டன் மீ. So your language when you're delivering a content should be authentic, should be your style. Okay, so that is something you should really keep in mind. நாளைக்கு இங்கிலீஷ் பேசுறது வந்துட்டுன்னு சொல்லிட்டு you can't go and put a very accent. Yes, how may I help you, sir? இப்போ நிறைய பேர் இங்கிலீஷ் கத்துக்கணும்னு சொல்லி வரவங்க எல்லாருமே accent-ஓட வராங்க. And my biggest request is, please don't take on accent. If Divakar is going to attempt sounding like me, he will sound worst. Divakar sounds better like the way his accent, the way he knows how to speak. The only thing that he has to focus is whether he's speaking the right language. ஒரு இங்கிலீஷ்ல கிராமர்னு சொல்லி ஒன்று இருக்கு, டென்ஸ் இருக்கு, அட்ஜெக்டிவ்ஸ் இருக்கு, நிறைய விஷயங்கள் இருக்கு. How is your English going to be validated whether it is correct or no? Now in Tamil, it's basically said that neenga nanga and sonada, that's very respectful. I kind of learned it by experience. I would go to come back to my team and said, ava enna solrane enakku puriyala. Ava was a reference to my boss, which I realized was very disrespectful. You can't be using those languages. அவங்க எனக்கு அப்புறமா தான் தெரிஞ்சது that you should be able to kind of give a context and a reference relevance like that. So because English is not your native language, you don't know what mistakes you are making. So first of all, you need to understand the language very well before you start to speak that language. Okay, எனக்கு ஏதோ புரியுதுப்பா, நான் இங்கிலீஷ்ல மேனேஜ் பண்றேன், அதெல்லாம் ஒன்றும் பிரச்சனை இல்லை. இது ஹோட்டல்ல போய் மெனு பார்த்து ஆர்டர் பண்ற விஷயம் இல்ல இங்கிலீஷ்னு சொல்றது. You got to know how to speak. You got to know how to sell yourself. You need to know how to sell your thought process. ஒரு இன்டர்வியூ போய் உட்கார்ந்தா நான் தான் that is the candidate that you should look at, nothing beyond me ன்னு சொல்றது நீங்க சொல்லிதான் உன்னை கன்வின்ஸ் பண்ணணும். And how will all that come out in your language. So please make sure that you focus on your communication skill. You kind of are very authentic about it. While these points, I had 7 tips for you in terms of what you should keep in mind to build yourself as a very strong brand. And I think, my friend Divakar missed up a little bit of agenda. I had 2 topics to speak, but I thought I'll club it for you all because there is definitely a relevance of communication. Now, first, உங்களுக்கு 7 C's of communication சொல்லி கொடுக்கலாம்னு பார்த்துட்டு இருந்தேன். But since he had already looped it into this session, I thought I'll give you a very high level of what the communications is. Now, since I told you that your communication skill has to be very good, there is something called as 7 C's, and I will call it as 7 plus 2C, which is there are 9 C's of communication. If you're a good communicator, today, if I am able to get an appreciation certificate from you, I wish you'd get an appreciation certificate, or I'm sure that it will be an appreciation certificate under these criteria. First of all, in whatever message that you are trying to communicate, there has to be a completeness in what you're trying to deliver as a message. நீங்க ஒரு மெயில் எழுதுறீங்களோ இல்ல ஒரு ரிப்போர்ட் அனுப்புறீங்களோ இல்ல ஒரு டாபிக் நீங்க பப்ளிக் ஸ்பீக் பண்றீங்களோ, எது இருந்தாலும் கம்யூனிகேஷன் சொல்லி ஒரு டாபிக் வந்தாலே there has to be a completeness of an information that you're sharing. 2, it has to be very concrete. What do I mean by concrete? Data points. நான் இப்போ ஒரு ரிப்போர்ட் எழுதிருக்கேன் சார், இந்த ரிப்போர்ட் this is relevance, this is the basis of my completeness. நான் ஒரு விஷயம் சொல்றது why did I show you brands? Why did I show you Google and Microsoft? Because I'm trying to build in some concrete. Tomorrow, when you're trying to deliver a message, use research reference, use data points, say this is what it is. That is what is going to substantiate what you're going to tell people. And there has to be courtesy in your communication. You have to please watch out. We all think we are very courtesy, but never. Okay, so courtesy can be in the way you speak, it can be in the tone, your language, your body language, the very fact as to how you have those discussions. That courtesy should be built in every aspect of your communication. Correctness, தப்பு grammar, தப்பு accent, நிறைய spelling mistake email, that is not effective communication. So there has to be a correctness in your communication, clarity. சக்குன்னு இப்ப நான் ஒரு 7 there are about 7 things that I wanted to tell you. அது ரொம்ப பெருசா சொன்னாம எவ்வளவு சின்ன விஷயம். ஏன்னா அந்த டாபிக் எல்லாம் நீங்க பாத்தீங்கன்னா அது இன்னைக்கு எல்லாமே பேசிட்டு இருக்கலாம். ஒரு டாபிக் இன்னைக்கு ஃபுல்லாவே பேசலாம். So much is there. But சொல்ல விஷயம் உங்களுக்கு கிளியரா சொல்ல முடியுமா? Somebody said clarity. So I was very happy when I got that feedback. Consideration. என்ன ஒரு consideration? What do you think can be consideration over here? எதை வச்சு நீங்க கன்சிடர் பண்ணுவீங்க ஒரு கம்யூனிகேஷன்ல? You always have to take your audience into consideration. If you're able to take your audience into consideration, then your message will be so seamless. The way I would have a conversation with Kamal would be a lot more different from, Akila will be a lot more different from Divakar, because I take into account the consideration of my audience before I deliver the message. Similarly, when you are speaking, you have to take consideration of who your audience. உங்களுக்கு ஒரு விஷயம் தெரிஞ்சிருந்தா மட்டும் பத்தாதுங்க, அது கேட்க வேண்டிய அவங்க கூட you should take into account. You should need to know what is that they will appreciate when you speak, and then all these parameters comes into account. Conciseness. எல்லாமே இவ்ளோ இவ்ளோ சொல்லிதான் ஒரு சின்ன விஷயம் புரிய வைக்கணும் இல்ல, அது சின்னதா ஒரு புல்லட் பாயிண்ட் போட்டு ஒரு லைன் சொன்னால கூட can you make a message very concise? We all know only to kind of give messages very elaborate. பட் அதே ஒரு நீங்க எப்பயுமே இமெயில் டிராஃப்ட் அடிக்கிறீங்கன்னு வச்சுக்கோங்களேன், ஒரு இமெயில ஃபுல்லா கத்துட்டு just give about 20 minutes break, come back and see, and you have to divide that by 20% to send out that message. You cannot put out the full message to your audience exactly at the first cut. ஒரு ரிப்போர்ட் கேக்குறாங்களா, ஓகே அது அப்படியே அனுப்பிச்சிடுங்க, ப்ளீஸ் ஃபைண்ட் என்க்ளோஸ்ட், ப்ளீஸ் ஃபைண்ட் என்க்ளோஸ்ட், ப்ளீஸ் ஃபைண்ட் அட்டாச். Worst behavior. How do you think your people are even going to get an idea of who you are as an individual? Where are your strengths lying in effectiveness? So try and see, use these opportunities to communicate. I am enclosing this. This is about this one. Would you be able to kind of ஏதாவது ஒரு ஹைலைட் கொடுங்களேன், ஒரு ஜஸ்ட் என்க்ளோஸ்ட் மட்டி போடாதீங்க டேட்டா. நீங்க தான் அந்த டேட்டாவை ஜெனரேட் பண்றீங்க, அந்த டேட்டால உங்களுக்கு தான் சில விஷயம் இருக்குன்னு தெரியும். So can you highlight that, ma'am? Please find enclosed, ma'am. In the Vati, we've had a very good month. Ma'am, this one is not looking so good. Sir, I think we have to focus on this. Please find enclosed. Use these interactions as an opportunity to kind of put out some message. Last, I will bring in two aspects. Even though 7 C's, you can Google it up, you will find a lot of read on that. Google இருக்கும், நீங்க 7 C's of communication சொன்னாலே உங்களுக்கு நிறைய read up வரும். The next one for me is most critical, is creativity and credibility. Now, why do I say ஒரு கம்யூனிகேஷன்ல வந்து கிரியேட்டிவிட்டி இருக்கணும்னு சொல்லி? ஒரு விஷயத்தை இப்படியெல்லாம் சொல்லலாம். ஒரு எம்ஐஎஸ் நான் அனுப்புறேன், ஒரு டாபிக் நான் உங்களுக்கு சொல்ல வரேன், அது எப்பவுமே ஒரே மாதிரி சொன்னா நல்லா இருக்குமா? ப்ளீஸ் ஃபைண்ட் என்க்ளோஸ், ப்ளீஸ் ஃபைண்ட் என்க்ளோஸ், ப்ளீஸ் ஃபைண்ட் என்க்ளோஸ்னா அதுல உங்களோட யூனிக்னஸ் எங்க இருக்கு? ஒரு மேனேஜருக்கோ ஒரு டீம் மெம்பருக்கோ உங்களோட யூனிக்னஸ் எங்க இருக்கு? Hey, please find enclosed this month's so and so report. I noticed that this is so and so, and let us discuss about it. ஏதாவது ஒரு ரெண்டு விஷயம் சொல்ல முடியுமா உங்களால? அந்த கிரியேட்டிவிட்டி இருக்கா உங்ககிட்ட? அது அந்த விஷயம் வந்து உங்களுக்கு எழுதுறதுக்கு, can you write something about that? Credibility is like today Sunitha and Sunna, that there has to be some credentials that you have to earn. Similarly, when you kind of focus on all these 7 C's and plus bring in an 8C, you will earn certain credibility. I'm only going to use reference of my friend Divakar because I know him well from the last few times that I've interacted with him. He has earned a credibility for me, who kind of is very, very extensively engaged in wanting to help people, help bring people together who are on the same attitude. But that's on the personal side of him. He has earned that credibility. Divakar வந்து let's speak, let's discuss, let's understand சொல்லி கூப்பிட்டாங்கன்னா இத்தனை பேர் வந்து ஜாயின் ஆகுறாங்க, ஒரு சுனிதா வந்து ஒரு செஷன் கொடுக்குறாங்கன்னா அது வந்து திவாகரோட credibility. He's earned a trust factor. Similarly, like that, each of you have to build your credibility in whatever that you do, back at work, back in your business, back in your personal life, whatever it is, there has to be something that people can validate you on. Last session is for me, if you kind of want to be successful, creating a personal brand that is who you are is not an option. It is a necessity. Today, you're in the world where the next generation is stepping in, then the next generation is millennials. If you want to kind of survive in that industry, you not only have to be very unique, you are not, it's to build yourself as a personal brand is no longer an option. It is a necessity. You have to define who you are. You have to work on those 7 tips. When you encounter people, they have to have like, wow, I met this person. It was so nice interacting with her. Gone are those days. Now and then I keep telling the corporate leaders, today is not a culture where people look up to you. Oh, Sunitha, okay, brand, adalla illa. If people don't expect me, if they don't look forward for my session, நீங்க next step வரீங்க and சொல்லி அந்த மாதிரி ஒரு essence நான் generate பண்ணலைன்னா I'm a failure as a coach. Today there is no look up to culture, there is a look forward to culture. So any person that you interact, any person that you meet, you got to become such a pleasant interaction or such a pleasant brand to be associated that people will always want to come back and associate with you. So for me, guys, this slide for me is the most critical when it comes to conclusion of the slide, is that if you want to be successful, you've got to create your personal brand. It is not an option, it is a necessity today. With that, I think I am good to take your questions. Yes.
Hi,
So
Sunitha ji.
I had one from you when we started. Just wanted to make sure that if I'm able to answer that for you. I'm just kind of going to reduce the screen, sorry. So that I can get you guys onto the screen. Yeah, super. Yeah, so Vanitha, just to kind of give you my take on, when you're attempting or when you're there doing your Toastmasters, and the feedback that you constantly get is that there's a lot of Tamil accent that's coming into your speech, right?
Yes, Tamil accent is, I mean, only comment I'm getting from either friends or whoever attending the Toastmaster session is I mean, mother tongue influence.
Yeah. So for that, Vanitha, my tip to you is that how many times do you speak English before you go and speak on the Toastmasters dais? Correct?
At least I'll practice 20 times. At least I'll practice for 2 days, because if I'm giving something, I'll have a mindset that I have to get a best speaker award that day.
Yeah, yeah. So, so a communication to really kind of have a very natural accent, have a very natural bounce when you're speaking, and to be very seamless. அது வந்து like just continuously அப்படியே கொட்டுற மாதிரி இருக்கணும் அந்த பேச்சை. To become like that, 2 days practice or 20 hours of rehearsal will not help. You have to become a native speaker. If you see, what do I mean by native? நீங்க வந்து தமிழ் எதுக்கு இவ்வளவு நல்லா பேசுறீங்க? Because it's your mother tongue, it's your native language. Now you are trying to attempt to speak English like a native language, which means you should speak English that much more. ஒரு 2 days இல்ல உங்களுக்கு you know the content. உங்களுக்கு வந்து அந்த content இங்கிலீஷ்ல எப்படி எழுதணும்னு கூட தெரியும். பட் அந்த டெலிவரி வரும்போது அது ரொம்ப ஸ்மூத்தா வர மாட்டேங்குது இல்லையா? So for you, you have to now become a native speaker. So try and make sure that your English communication, you kind of extend every day as much as you encounter with people. See, இப்ப வந்து நம்ம தெரிஞ்ச சர்க்கிள்லயே இப்போ இங்கிலீஷ் பேசினா என்ன இவங்க வந்து thanks Gauri. So she just left a comment for me, all right. So it is very difficult to kind of see people that you keep seeing every day and start speaking English, because I'm not too sure how they will take you onto that. But if you start networking with people, you kind of make every opportunity to speak only in English. So once your frequency of English communication is more, then naturally your accent kind of gets a little subdued. The only reason why I see that becomes too very noticeable is because you're only doing a 2-day practice. When it becomes an everyday speech, you're seamlessly delivering it. So don't worry about it.
Okay, sure. Actually, with colleagues, everyone we are speaking in English only. But since actually I'm coming from Tamil medium student, I'm actually first I'll do that. I'll mug up the content, even though I'm writing the content. Someone after correcting the grammar mistake, everything, first I'll mug up the complete content. Then I'll start practicing it. Is that a right, or do I need to change anything in this?
See, it's a good approach, because even I practice a lot before I have to deliver any public speaking stuff. But I don't mug up, Vanitha. The biggest problem that we have is we mug up things. We start to, remember and diarize things. That will not give you a very natural flow. So what you have to do is, when you're writing a content, you got to create a mind map. A mind map for me is the flow. ஓகே ஃபர்ஸ்ட்
Okay.
வந்து இன்ட்ரடக்ஷன் சொன்னமா, ஓகே 1 2 3 பாயிண்ட்ஸ் வந்து நான் அந்த இன்ட்ரடக்ஷன்ல கவர் பண்ணணும். அதுக்கப்புறமா நான் வந்து கொஞ்சம் பேக்ரவுண்ட் கொடுக்கணும். ஸோ அந்த பேக்ரவுண்ட்ல 1 2 3 பாயிண்ட்ஸ் எனக்கு சொல்ல வேண்டியதா இருக்கு. ஸோ நீங்க
Okay.
வந்து கண்டென்ட்டும் நீங்க எழுதிட்டு அதை ரிஹர்ஸும் பண்ணிட்டு அதுக்கப்புறமா நீங்க போய் ஸ்டேஜ்ல பேசும்போது எவ்வளவு பெரிய ஈவன் இஃப் இஸ் a brilliant public speaker he will have nervousness when he comes onto the stage. நீங்க அதையும் மீறி when you kind of start delivering your speech ஒரு 2 3 வார்த்தை நடுவுல ஆடியன்ஸ்ல ஏதோ ஒரு கத்த மச்சா ஏதோ ஒரு டிஸ்டர்பன்ஸ் ஆச்சு, once you lose that flow, no, it becomes very unnatural. So what I'm trying to say is that because you come from a different background, you started to learn English say only after you started working, now you're very familiar with the language, that's very good. Start looking at serials. நீங்க எல்லாருமே வந்து இங்கிலீஷ் பாட்டை கேட்கணும், இங்கிலீஷ் சீரியலை பார்க்கணும். How did you learn your native language? உங்களை ஃபர்ஸ்ட் 1 year ஆகும்போது யாராவது போய் லேர்ன் யுவர் நேட்டிவ் லாங்குவேஜ்னு சொல்லி ஸ்கூல் எடுத்துட்டு போய் விட்டாங்களா? நீங்க நேட்டிவ் லாங்குவேஜ்ல எப்படி 3 வயசுல எல்லாம் அவ்வளவு கடகடகன எப்படி நீங்க லாங்குவேஜ் பேசுனீங்க? எல்லாமே கேட்டுட்டு தானே பண்ணீங்க. So like that, the more you start listening to English as a language, ஏதாவது ஒரு சீரியல் எடுங்க. ஃப்ரெண்ட்ஸ்னு சொல்லி ஒரு ரொம்ப நல்ல ஒரு சீரியல் நெட்ஃபிளிக்ஸ்ல வருது. Take anything, take any serial in English and start looking at it. First of all, the more you listen to language, the language sinks in. Just like the way you learned mother tongue. யாருமே உங்களை வந்து கிராஷ் கோர்ஸ் இல்ல கையில ஒரு நீங்க 1 year இருக்கும்போது லேர்ன் தமிழ் in 7 days அந்த மாதிரி எல்லாம் யாரும் சொல்லி கொடுக்கல. எல்லாமே நம்ம கேட்டு கேட்டுதான் கத்துக்கிட்டோம். So the minute you start seeing a lot of movies, you will by default kind of start learning a lot of language.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for this wonderful session, Sunitha.